Hello and welcome to Spencer's Library. I'm Claudia, and today I wanted to share with you my January wrap-up, my favourites of this month, and also some YouTuber shout-outs. For the wrap-up, I read 16 books this month, which is crazy. I've never read that many books in a month. It's been a really good start to the year reading-wise, so I'm actually not going to talk about every single book that I read, because that would take forever. Out of the 16 books that I read this month, there was one that I gave 1 star to. There were 2 2-star books, 5 3-star, 6 4 stars, and 2 5 stars. For me, that's a pretty good month. I rarely give 5-star reviews, so I'm very happy with that. One of those was a reread, so I knew that was going to be 5 stars, but still. My favourites of the month, so I'm going to just talk you through the books that I gave 5 and 4 stars to. The 2 5-star books were The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. That one I'm actually not going to recap because I already did that in the first part of my January wrap-up, which I uploaded a few weeks ago. That's going to be linked in the description box. And then the second 5-star was a reread of this book here. It's called The Steps Up the Chimney and is by William Corlett. You may not have heard of this book. It is a children's book that came out in 1990, I believe. I got this one for Christmas when I was 10 in the year 2000 by one of my aunties, and I got that in a German translation. And it very quickly became my favourite book series of all time. So this is the first part in a 4-part series, and I love it so much. This is the first time I've actually read this in English because I read and loved the German translations throughout my childhood. A brief synopsis of this: it's about 3 children, 3 siblings, William, Mary and Alice, who range in age from 8 to 13, and they go and visit their uncle who lives on the Welsh border in a big manor house. There they meet a mysterious man who turns out to be a time traveller from the Elizabethan age. He's also a magician, and they go on all sorts of adventures together. There's talking animals, there's a lot of sort of environmental issues that are kind of worked into the story, and social issues as well. It's a really, really beautiful book, and I recommend it to anyone who has children from, say, the ages of 8 and up, or who likes children's books. I also reread the second part of this quartet, which is called The Door in the Tree, and I'm planning to finish the series this year. I'm probably going to wait until the summer to read the third book because it's set in the summer holidays, so I think it's going to be a nice thing to read when it's hopefully a little bit warmer outside here. So this book I gave 4 stars to. It's not as good as the first. It is still, it's just a great series. Read it if you're into fantasy or children's literature. The next book that I gave 4 stars to was The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. So I've got this, it's part of his Dark Materials volume. And again, that was a reread, but I actually couldn't remember this one that well because I read it some years ago, and yeah, I just couldn't remember the story that well. But I actually prefer this to Northern Lights. I just like the story more, I like the characters more. It's better written in my opinion. Again, I'm going to read the third book in the series this year, and then hello Beetle, bye Beetle, and then move on to the Book of Dust, which is still back there on my TBR. Another book that I gave 4 stars to, and this one surprised me somewhat, is Freakonomics by Stephen Dubner and Stephen Levitt. This surprised me because I don't tend to enjoy non-fiction books that much. I usually give good non-fiction books a solid 3 stars. They're just not that gripping to me, but this one was really well written. The prose was very entertaining. The chapters about various social issues and the way that they've been explored in this book is something I really enjoyed. So I recommend this, especially if you're a fan of the Freakonomics podcast like I am. Read it. And then the last couple of books that I gave 4 stars to were actually ones that I read earliest in the year, and those were The Hound of the Baskervilles and also The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. I listened to those an audiobook read by Stephen Fry, the wonderful Stephen Fry, and those two are just my favourite Sherlock Holmes stories. They're both very entertaining, they're both gripping. I mean, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is a short story collection, so there's several stories in there, but it's really well written. Beetle, can you stop that? Beetle, everyone. So these are my favourite books of the month. For a complete list of books that I read in January, if you're interested, just check out my Goodreads. Kittens. I just want to briefly mention some non-book favourites of this month as well. So the first one is kind of book related, and it is this very old-fashioned book stand. Now, I had one of these in primary school, and I've not used one of these since I was 7, but it is actually such a wonderful idea. I'll show you. So, say I'm having breakfast, and I want to read my... Beetle! He's trying to break into the treats jar. Well, he's not getting there. And I want to read his Dark Materials, so I can just prop that up like that, and have my breakfast as I'm reading it. Isn't that amazing? Get one of those, they're really cheap online. Another favourite is, again, something quite old-fashioned, but it's gotten me and my skin through January. Plain old Nivea Cream. I've slapped this all over my face and my hands this winter, and it's stopped my skin from drying out. Love it. Although not great for people with sensitive skin because it is very heavy on the perfume. And then, last but not least, I've been enjoying Instagram this month. So I'm not a huge social media person, but I decided that my cats are just too cute to not share with the world. So if you like cat pictures, follow me on Instagram, link in the description box. And if you are on Instagram yourself, then post your username in the comments so I can follow you back as well. Then, finally, we get to the shoutouts this month. So I'm planning to shout out 3 small booktubers every month in my wrap-ups, and these are all people who have got under 1,000 subscribers but definitely deserve more. So first up we have Kayla from Mountain School. She lives, God, I don't even know where, somewhere in the American wilderness, and she makes videos about books but also about homeschooling, raising goats, all sorts of fun things that don't sound like they should belong on the same channel, but she makes it work. I love watching her videos mostly because her world is so far removed from my own, and she makes really interesting videos about her life, with a heavy focus on books as well. Then next up we have Frankie Wreaths, who is a wonderful, warm booktuber who talks with such enthusiasm about science fiction books and books that, I mean, most of the books that she talks about I haven't read, but she really makes me want to check out those kinds of genres as well. And then lastly we have Sung from Pages and Prose, who's a lovely person talking about all sorts of different books. She does tags, she talks about science books, non-fiction, all sorts of different things, young adult as well, and she has a wonderful way of talking about books in a very sort of warm and calming presence. So check those people out. All of them are linked in the description box. That's it from me for today. Let me know how your January went. I'm sure my February won't be as crazy in terms of reading. Thank you for watching. Bye.